Hello everyone, today is a bit special because as you've noticed from the title of the video, I'm finally diving into playing with only one Pokemon in the team, preferably the weakest one possible. And what better way to start with the Route 1 Pokemon that we all caught to fill out our Pokédex, only to then leave it in the PC and never use it again? What if we had given it a chance? Would Rattata have seized that opportunity? Well, we're going to find out in this video. Without further ado, let me explain the rules we'll be following in this challenge to make it as interesting as possible. First rule, the Rattata we receive from Professor Oak will be the only Pokemon we can use throughout the game in battles. HM slaves are allowed, but they must not participate in combat. Please note that the only modifications I made to the game are changing Professor Oak's starter Pokemon to Rattata, so we can start with it, and as you've seen, the player sprite is that of a youngster. This is the trainer class that most often has a Rattata in the game. The name Farouk is a tribute to the first trainer we encounter in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the one who asks for our number after we beat him, boasting about his Rattata's progress. His name in the English version is Joey. Second rule, to keep the challenge competitive, the use of items during battles is prohibited. Held items are allowed. Now that we're aware of the forbidden behaviors during the game, we can receive our dear Rattata from Professor Oak. After a few tackles, we defeat Blue's Squirtle, and we can head towards Viridian City to begin our adventure. Of course, we encounter more Rattata before entering the shop to get Oak's parcel. You all know the story of these games, and you surely know what the biggest upcoming obstacle in the game will be: the first gym, where the leader Brock specializes in Rock-type Pokemon, a type that resists Rattata's normal-type moves. I checked out Rattata's move pool, meaning the moves it can learn through leveling up and TMs, and surprisingly, it has access to quite a few decent TMs throughout the adventure, even though its best stat is attack. However, before reaching Pewter City, it only knows Hyper Fang, and both Brock's Onix and Geodude resist this move and have good defense, so we take the opportunity to defeat the nearby bug catchers and wild Pokemon along the way, and we even make sure to go back and defeat Blue on the road to the Pokémon League. After wandering around the western part of Kanto, our Rattata reaches level 13 to face Brock. We quickly realize that our Hyper Fang deals very little damage to the first of Brock's Pokemon, and Geodude knocks us out after taking about 2/3 of damages. Thank you for watching this challenge, and I'll see you next week for a new one. Au revoir. Oops. Of course, given the difficulty of the challenge, we'll have to get used to fainting frequently. The problem with major obstacles early in the game is that there's little chance of getting past them without having to train your Pokemon, which is a bit unfortunate and very tedious. Fortunately, the grinding session for my Rattata wasn't as bad as I anticipated, since at level 18, it has a chance to beat the first gym. The strategy doesn't change much, and with 3 Hyper Fangs, Geodude is knocked out, Onix is sent out, and to lower its massive defense, we use Tail Whip. Luckily, it doesn't hit us with a Rock Stab move, and we managed to hit it with 3 Hyper Fangs, leaving its HP in the red. To avoid missing our attack, we use Quick Attack to finish it off and win the first badge. The adventure continues as we head east to enter Mount Moon. Along the way, few trainers pose a real threat, and we explore the cave a bit to find the Move Thief, useful against ghost types and normal resistances. Even though it's a special attack, we take the Helix Fossil, even though it won't be of any use unless you believe in Lord Helix, and we arrive in Cerulean City in no time. At this point in the game, we can choose to face our rival, who has 4 Pokemon, or the gym leader Misty, who has 2, including a pretty strong Starmie. We opt for Blue on Nugget Bridge, and our Rattata fails to one-shot his Pidgeotto, which hits us with one of the worst moves to start a battle with, Sand Attack. We finish it off easily with Quick Attack, but now we're at risk of missing our Hyper Fang at any point in the match, especially since its base accuracy is 90. This fear is justified when Blue sends out his own Rattata, and we miss our attack not once, but 4 times. Despite this, we manage to knock it out, but Squirtle is sent out, and it's more resilient, with only 20 HP left. Its Water Gun hits us, and luckily we hang on with 1 HP before knocking it out. The last Pokemon, Abra, is harmless, but that was a close call. However, the remaining trainers on Nugget Bridge up to Bill's house don't pose any additional problems, as the hikers we face are neutralized by our Thief attack. The Team Rocket member at the end of the bridge offers us a chance to join their ranks, and why not, in a future video, consider his proposal. But for now, we continue our challenge and reach Bill's house, freeing him. He rewards us with the SS ticket, and our training in Northern Kanto gives us a high enough level to face Misty. Our Hyper Fang will once again be our best asset, as it allows us to one-shot Staryu and 2-shot Starmie. We just have to hope we don't miss, as Starmie can 2-shot us as well. With the second badge in our pocket, we can resolve the conflict in the house of the person who owns the TM dig that was stolen. This works out well, since it's a move we'll need for the next gym. As Rattata can learn this TM, without resting, we head down to Vermilion City and enter the port to board the SSM. In this part, there's no partying with the other participants. Instead, we go straight to find Blue to gain access to the captain's cabin. The battle starts with a misclick, where I use a ground-type move on his Pidgeotto, which fortunately doesn't punish me too much. Hyper Fang doesn't one-shot it, allowing Pidgeotto to deal some small damage before being finished off with Thief. The next Pokemon is Raticate, and out of fear of missing with Hyper Fang, I use Dig to 2-HKO it. We can consider that by KOing it here, we essentially kill Blue's Raticate, since it won't reappear in Blue's team when we meet him again at the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. This is a theory I quite like in the game, because it partially explains why Blue hates us so much. Anyway, the next Pokemon is Kadabra, and we have 40 HP left. I use a physical move, knowing that Kadabra is pretty frail, before finishing it off with Thief. Finally, it's time to face Wartortle. Rattata is faster and strong enough to significantly weaken the Water type, which then retaliates with a Water Gun. Once again, to avoid missing the final blow, I use Dig, and Blue loses the battle. This grants us access to the captain, who gives us HM01 cut, which will be essential for entering Litun Surge's gym and accessing the rock tunnel. With Dig, electric-type Pokemon aren't too difficult to beat. However, against the gym leader, Hyperfang is preferred to take down his Raichu. It brings Raichu's HP into the red, forcing Litun Surge to heal it, and the second Hyperfang ends the battle, fortunately without getting paralyzed. With the Thunder Badge in hand, we're in a position to reach the next 3 cities by passing through Rock Tunnel. Honestly, I remembered that this tunnel was complicated to get through, but that was when I was 6 years old, so I had the brilliant idea of rushing in without much preparation, which was a huge mistake. I didn't have any HM slaves with Flash, so I got lost several times, not to mention all the times I encountered hikers with Pokemon like Graveler or Onix, which have the move Magnitude, condemning us if we use Dig beforehand. Since I had very few potions, I found myself back at the Pokemon Center in front of the cave many times, and it was a real relief to finally see the end of that tunnel, which I had clearly overestimated. Beyond getting through this dungeon, new areas open up to us, giving us the choice to tackle 3 to 4 different storylines depending on our preferences. We choose to start by dismantling the Rocket Game Corner in Celadon City, which we resolve without major issues. However, the boss, Giovanni, is a different story. We quickly realize that he's a bit too powerful for us at this point, so we decide to battle trainers around the 3 cities of Celadon, Saffron, and Lavender to train and earn enough money to buy a TM at the casino. We also defeat Blue at the Pokemon Tower. While in Lavender Town, we grab the Return TM, which is more reliable than Hyperfang, as a stab move for our Rattata. With this preparation, we're ready to take on the Team Rocket leader in his hideout. At level 41, Onix is a 2HKO with Dig, and Giovanni's second Pokemon, Rhyhorn, falls to the same tactic. The final opponent, Kangaskhan, is quite bulky, and our return doesn't take away half its HP, which is problematic because it hits us hard in return. Fortunately, Kangaskhan chooses to use Bite, allowing us to finish it off with Return. Giovanni is defeated, and we obtain the Sylph Scope, which will allow us to identify the Marowak in the Pokemon Tower and free Mr. Fuji. To thank us for driving away Team Rocket, Mr. Fuji gives us the Pokeflute, but we won't head directly to Snorlax to wake it up. Instead, we go to the department store to sell the TMs we're sure Rattata can't learn. With this small fortune, we have enough money to buy 4,000 coins, which represents 80,000 Pokédollars, to obtain the Ice Beam TM, and yes, surprisingly enough, Rattata can learn Ice Beam. Even though this move is special, it can be useful in situations where the opposing Pokemon have low special defense, such as Rock types, which are also Ground types. With this move, we're also prepared for the 4th gym and Erica. At least, that's what I thought before facing her Victreebel, which delights in paralyzing us at the start of every battle, handicapping us for the rest of the match. No worries, we'll go battle Snorlax to access the cycling road and coast down to Fuchsia City. We train our Rattata along the way, and once at Koga's gym, we test the trainers with our little Pokemon. Unfortunately, the gym leader is again too strong for Rattata, and after several attempts, I have to admit defeat. But the advantage of Kanto is that it's not a very linear game, and when you're stuck in one place, you can always explore another area to train while still making progress. So, we head to Saffron City to enter the Sylph Cubber building, which has been infiltrated by Team Rocket. I won't lie, I tried battling Blue directly to see where Rattata stood, but he was far too weak to pose any threat to the future champion. So, we defeat a few Team Rocket grunts in the building, gaining experience and EVs, bringing our level above 50. It's still not enough to beat Blue, but it allows us to return to Erica's gym, and with a 21 level advantage over her grass types, we're ready to one-shot them with each attack. The badge is won, and we continue on this path by returning to Koga in Fuchsia City. The additional level gain is helpful, but the battle won't be particularly easier. His poison-type moves tend to weaken us too much, so when we face his final Pokemon, it easily takes down my Rattata. After a bit more training, Rattata manages to one-shot the first Coughing, then 2HKO Muk, all while praying we don't miss our attack or get poisoned, since Muk can use Toxic or Minimize. The next Coughing can also be one-shotted, and finally, the Wheezing is a 2HKO, ideally. I say ideally because it depends on the damage roll of Rattata's return. If it's too low twice in a row, it prevents us from two-shotting Wheezing. Finally, victory is achieved, and the 5th badge is ours at last. This allows us to use Surf outside of battle, so we head to the Safari Zone to get the HMO3 Surf and the Gold Teeth, so the Warden will reward us with HMO4 Strength. Once that's done, we head to Cinnabar Island, passing through Pallet Town, of course, because the Seafoam Island's puzzle is quite long, and we've already lost enough time as it is. Upon arriving on the island, which is actually a volcano, we enter the Pokemon Mansion to retrieve the key to the gym. The trainers there are a good way to continue training our little rodent, so we purposely answer the quiz questions incorrectly. Now it's time to face the Fire-type champion, who can easily defeat us with his powerful Fire-type moves and his high-level Pokemon. The first, a Growlithe, intimidates us, lowering our already mediocre attack even further for the rest of the battle, but that doesn't stop us from one-shotting it. The next Pokemon, Ponyta, is also taken down with a return attack, which one-shots it. As for Rapidash, things get more complicated. It withstands our first attack, hitting us back with a powerful Fire Blast, leaving us with only 26 HP. Blaine heals his Pokemon, but since we're faster, we manage to knock it out. The final Pokemon is the famous Arcanine, and once again, we get intimidated. By the will of Arceus, we are faster, and more importantly, land a critical hit, allowing us to win the gym badge. This achievement leads to a visit from Bill, who wants to send us to the Sevi Islands. Since they're not necessary for the challenge, we decline his offer to focus on the mainland gym. Our next stop is Saffron City, where we have a score to settle with our rival. While our first attempt didn't seem too significant, this time confirms a justified fear regarding the success of the challenge, since, spoiler alert, he's also the Pokémon League champion. If we're already struggling to beat him during the adventure, his final team will be formidable. His first Pokemon is Pidgeot. Unfortunately, at this level, we one-shot it. Otherwise, it usually uses Feather Dance, which severely lowers our only strength, attack. On the other hand, his Growlithe lowers our attack with Intimidate, but that doesn't stop us from finishing it off with Return. Execute is taken out with Ice Beam, and Alakazam can't withstand a return due to its low physical defense. If this battle seems easy here, it's because you haven't seen the previous attempts, where each of his Pokemon posed a problem when they attacked. We then face his Blastoise, which is a real pain. Our Return doesn't even do half of its HP, and it takes 3 attacks in total to take it down. As you've gathered, if we're struggling to beat Blue with an 18 level advantage, how hard will it be when his Pokemon are on par with our current Rattata? The battle against Giovanni is also tricky. We easily defeat his Nidorino, but it takes 2 hits to KO his Nidoqueen, which deals us a double kick and poisons us with its ability. What indignity! Kangaskhan takes 2 hits to KO, but the poison leaves us in the red when Giovanni sends out Rhydon, his final Pokemon. We only have 1 possible attack left, so we choose Ice Beam, which thankfully one-shots it. The battle is won, and the city is freed from Team Rocket's control. The count is quickly done. We have 6 badges, and the Viridian Gym only opens once all previous badges are obtained. So, it's time to challenge Sabrina and her Psychic-type Pokemon. Given our level, victory depends on one thing, our speed, which must be higher than these special attack monsters, since our return attack one-shots all her Pokemon with weak defenses. Once the gym is cleared, we can return to Viridian for the final gym battle. We avoid as many trainers as possible to confront Giovanni quickly. This time, he sends out Rhydon first, and our Ice Beam one-shots it. 1 down, 4 to go. The next Pokemon is Nidoqueen, which poisoned us with its ability in the last match, so we pray that our 2 consecutive physical attacks don't activate Poison Point. Fortunately, the gaming gods seem to be on our side, and Nidoking is sent out with the same threats as his female counterpart. Once again, a critical hit allows us to take him down, and Giovanni sends out 3 Diglett at once. He must be desperate to send out 3 Pokemon at the same time. Anyway, we only need 1 attack to take them all down, and the Rocket Boss sends out his final Pokemon, Rhydon. This one is tougher than the first since it withstands our Ice Beam, forcing us to spam the move until its trainer stops healing it. And that's it. We've dismantled an entire criminal network, and incidentally, collected all of Kanto's badges using only a Rattata, a true feat considering the Pokemon's resilience. It's now time to fulfill the dream of youngster Joey and head to the League. On the way to the penultimate showdown with Blue, we cross a patch of tall grass, and a Pokemon catches our attention. It's a Rattata. It's nice to return to our roots and reflect on where we've come from, and this Rattata is probably a cousin of the one belonging to youngster Joey, so we decide to spare it. We're close to the final goal, so it's time to consume all the rare candies we've gathered throughout the adventure. Thus, when Blue challenges us, we're at level 69, and as usual, he sends out Pidgeot. It's a 2 HKO, but it's also a bit of a gamble when starting the match, because if this Pokemon uses Feather Dance, Rattata's attack is reduced to nothing, and the next Pokemon, Growlithe, further lowers our only normal-type stab move. Fortunately, it's Aerial Ace that hits us, and we move on to Rhydon, which falls in 1 hit from Ice Beam. Yes, the easiest Pokemon for Rattata to deal with on Blue's team is a Rock-type, ironic when you remember the start of this challenge in Brock's gym. Anyway, Growlithe is sent out to avenge its partner, and our return is still strong enough to knock it out. Execute is the next Pokemon, and our Ice Beam doesn't one-shot it, but it does freeze it, allowing us to defeat it with some well-timed hacks. Now it's time for Blue's 2 monsters, Alakazam and Blastoise. The former tanks our physical attack, but chooses to meditate pointlessly, allowing us to finish it off without taking any damage. Against Blastoise, however, we're completely on the defensive, as this Pokemon resists our return, causing our HP to drop quickly. Fortunately, I saved the move Endeavor to bring it down to 70 HP as well. It summons Rain with Rain Dance, giving us the opportunity to attack, and in this moment, the stars align as we land a crucial critical hit. We really sweated through this match, but the path to Victory Road is now open, and since it's one of the most tedious dungeons in Pokemon, I'll spare you the details of its traversal, because now we're entering the most challenging part of the challenge. And I'm not saying this to tease a more thrilling end to the video. This is really where I felt Rattata would struggle to complete the challenge, even more so when I decided after a long training session to attempt the Pokémon League at level 81. Since there are 5 trainers to defeat, different strategies are needed for each of them, and some involve learning TMs, so there's no turning back once you cross the threshold into Lorelei's room. And while 81 is a high level for a normal Pokemon for Rattata, it was too low. As you're about to see, we're in for a tough time. The first trainer specializes in Ice-type Pokemon, so we taught our Pokemon Sunny Day and Shockwave for this battle. You'll quickly see why these new moves are important. The first Pokemon, Cloyster, often starts with Hail, and we want to counter that immediately to keep the sun out. Not only does this prevent residual damage from the Hailstorm, but it also weakens the Water-type moves of Lorelei's Pokemon. There's a specific timing to setting the weather, while Cloyster uses Protect, giving us a free turn. Shockwave then allows us to 2HKO Cloyster. The second Pokemon, Slowbro, is a huge threat with 2 moves that can completely defeat us. If it uses a Water-type attack, we take massive damage, so keeping the sun out discourages it from using water moves. It can also use Yawn, which would make the battle very difficult if Rattata falls asleep. Fortunately, in this match, Slowbro lets us hit it with 2 returns to KO it. Lapras is a 2HKO, and you can see why avoiding damage before facing this Pokemon is crucial because of its stab Ice-type moves. The last Pokemon, Jinx, can be handled in 1 hit, which is lucky because its moves are devastating if it gets the chance to finish us off. The next battle is against Bruno, and it's crucial to teach Rattata a somewhat controversial move for this fight. We replace Sunny Day with Double Team to help Rattata dodge the super effective fighting type attacks from Bruno's Pokémon. Onix, Bruno's first Pokémon, is taken out with one Ice Beam, and the strategy begins when Hitmonchan appears. It's less threatening, and when it's about to be healed by Bruno, that's the moment to use Double Team. After that, it can't hit us anymore, and we're ready to finish it off and move on to the next Pokémon. Hitmonlee is KO'd in one hit, and Bruno's main Pokémon, Machamp, is sent out. The idea here is simple. If Machamp's cross-chop hits, Rattata is KO'd instantly. This is where Double Team comes in handy, and eventually, we can 2H KO Machamp, as well as the final Onix. With Bruno defeated, it's time to face Agatha and her Ghost and Poison-type Pokémon. To prepare, we teach our Pokémon Shadow Ball, another example of Rattata's diverse move pool, to hit her Ghost types physically and super effectively. We also give Rattata a Pecha Berry to anticipate any future poisoning. The change in moves pays off, as Gengar is KO'd in one hit, and Golbat, the next Pokémon sent out, doesn't withstand our super effective Ice Beam. After several tries, the battle is finally in our favor before facing Arbok. Despite its Intimidate ability, our return move is a 2H KO, and luckily, its Sludge Bomb doesn't poison us. The next Gengar is sent out, and we have only 111 HP left. This time, Shadow Ball takes away a little over half of its HP, and it can retaliate with Sludge Bomb, which poisons us. The Pecha Berry is invaluable here, as with 65 HP remaining and 2 Pokémon left, including a healing Gengar, the poison could easily take us down if Agatha's Pokémon resist our attacks. Fortunately, we land a critical hit, and Gengar is taken down. Her last Pokémon, Haunter, doesn't survive Shadow Ball, marking another victory. Lance was a real headache. After numerous attempts, I realized that level 82 was not enough for a Rattata, and without a particular move, all his Pokémon could one-shot the little rat from Route 1. For this battle, Thunder replaces Shadow Ball. The main reason is Gyarados, who often uses Hyper Beam, which usually results in us losing. With the Electric-type move, we can hope to bring it to low HP if it hits, of course. This forces Lance to heal his Pokémon, giving us the chance to start using Double Team 3 times to minimize the chances of Gyarados hitting us. This is especially effective when it's paralyzed. We can then attack again with a significant evasion advantage for the rest of the battle, even though we barely survive a Hyper Beam with just 4 HP left. Against Aerodactyl, luck is also on our side, as Thunder paralyzes it, further reducing its chances of attacking us. Despite that, it's still a 3H KO. Dragonite withstands our quad-effective Ice Beam, so we need 2 hits to take it down. The same goes for Dragonair, who can't attack us, even when given the chance. This battle shows why evasion moves are banned in competitive play. In addition to being powerful, they're purely based on luck. The last Pokémon is another Dragonair, which falls after 2 attacks. If the battle against the Dragon Master was heavily luck-based, the fight against Blue, our rival, is even worse. We replace Ice Beam with Blizzard for maximum power and face Pidgeot. The first step is always to hit it with Thunder and hope to paralyze it, because evasion doesn't work against Pidgeot when it uses Aerial Ace, but Aerial Ace is the lesser evil. What we really fear is Feather Dance, which lowers our attack so much that we can't deal enough damage to the following Pokémon. So, our return move can one-shot Pidgeot, as well as the Alakazam sent out afterward. For Exeggutor, we just hope it does miss its moves, and return should be enough to take it down. Raiden is a physical tank, and Blizzard is mainly for it. We can 2H KO it if Blizzard doesn't miss, which it often does, let's be honest. Against Arcanine, who lowers our attack with Intimidate, a critical hit is welcome. Finally, there's Blastoise, the last Pokémon in the game, and our Thunderlands, taking off 40% of its HP. Just 2 more attacks, and we'll be the champion. Its Hydro Pump shouldn't hit us, and come on! As you can see from this battle, the strategy of taking on Blue at level 82 isn't always consistent, even when everything goes perfectly in the battle, as it did here, where we avoided all the threats one by one. Blastoise can still hit us with a lucky roll, but since we saved after each trainer, we can't really go back without sacrificing moves like Shadow Ball or Sunny Day, which were very useful against earlier trainers. Here's another attempt that went pretty far. As always, we start with Thunder, and to get through the next 3 Pokémon, that move has to hit and paralyze. Once that happens, we can spam Double Team, hoping Pidgeot misses or uses Aerial Ace. If not, it's better to reset right away. That's what happens here, and after becoming nearly untouchable, we can hit it with Return. Alakazam is an OH KO, while Exeggutor is a 2H KO. In each case, the one who attacks first wins. It's the same with Raiden, which we weaken with Blizzard, a move that can miss occasionally. Arcanine lowers our attack, but we land another much-needed critical hit before facing Blastoise. We start with Thunder, in hopes of paralyzing it, reducing its chances of attacking even more. All our attacks land, and that's all we ask for, until Blastoise is in KO range for a Return, which also hits. Hallelujah, we didn't think it was possible, but we did it. We became the Kanto champion with a level 83 Rattata. While we relied on luck in the final battle, throughout the game, we had to use strategies to avoid over-leveling against key trainers in the region. One thing is for sure, this was a long challenge, both for you to watch and for me to complete, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't hesitate to leave a big thumbs up for the channel's return after the holidays, and drop a comment on which Pokemon you'd like to see complete an entire game. Or if there's a challenge you think would be fun, I'm open to anything. What's certain is that the next challenge will take us back in time with a generation we haven't yet tackled on the channel, and a special Pokemon that belonged to Misty. I hope to see you at the premiere of the video. See you soon on the channel. Au revoir.